All right, so get this. There's this company, Symphony 42, and they're claiming to build the world's first B2C AI customer acquisition platform.
Their goal,
Oh, just to dominate a market with over $1 trillion?
trillion with a T.
Yeah, trillion with a T.
Wild. What's even crazier is they're planning to do this by, get this, replacing humans in the sales process.
With AI.
With AI.
Yeah.
And not just like your basic chatbots, like the ones that are annoying. We're talking about AI that can actually persuade you to buy stuff, like car insurance or even that Peloton you've been thinking about.
So no more awkward calls with salespeople. This AI closes the deal itself.
That's the idea.
Okay, I'm listening. But how is that even possible?
So it all comes down to, well, have you heard of large language models, LLMs?
I have, yeah.
So think ChatGPT, that's an LLM. And these systems, they're trained on just mountains of data.
Yeah.
And that lets them generate human quality text, but also understand like the nuances of how we communicate.
So is Symphony 42 just riding the coattails of this new, LLM tech, or?
That's a good question. And this is what makes them really stand out.
Okay.
It's twofold. It's the team, and it's their approach to how they develop their AI. So let's talk about the team first.
Okay.
The CEO, Sean Fenlon. This guy's built and sold multiple companies that operate in this space. And get this, back in 2014, he predicted that AI would completely revolutionize how we acquire customers.
Wow, talk about being ahead of the curve. But having a vision's one thing, making it a reality, that's another.
That's very true. And that's where their experience comes in. Take, for example, Greg Yardley, their head of product. He's got history at places like Yahoo and Flurry, building products that millions of people use every day. And Brian Ochiltree, their head of insurance and integrations. This guy's a legend when it comes to using tech to sell insurance.
So they've definitely got the brains and the experience, but what problem are they actually solving here? Why do we need AI salespeople?
Right. Have you ever had to deal with those, dreadful call centers?
Ugh, don't remind me.
So they're costly for businesses. The customer experience is usually terrible.
The worst.
They don't scale well.
Yeah.
Symphony 42 says we can eliminate those problems.
So faster, cheaper, and a better experience. That's what they're claiming.
That's the big idea.
Okay, but how can we be sure that their AI is actually up to the task?
All right, so this is where their champion-challenger methodology comes in. Think of it like a constant AI battle royale.
Okay.
They're pitting different AI models against each other, testing which ones are the absolute best, the most persuasive, and most effective in a live environment.
So it's like survival of the fittest, but for sales algorithms.
Exactly.
I like it. But how does Symphony 42 actually make money from all this?
They have a clever approach. 2 prongs, bundled and unbundled.
Bundled and unbundled, okay.
So the bundled package is for businesses that, they just want to completely hand over their customer acquisition to AI.
Okay.
Symphony 42 will generate the leads, close deals, the whole shebang.
So it's like set it and forget it for busy business owners.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the businesses that, maybe want a bit more control?
Well, that's where their unbundled offering comes in. Businesses can pick and choose what parts of the process they want to automate. So maybe it's just generating leads, maybe it's tapping into specific AI capabilities.
Okay.
Smart, right?
Yeah, it caters to a wider range of needs, budgets.
Exactly.
So let's talk money. Are these, impressive projections just hype, or do they have the numbers to back it up?
This is where it gets really interesting. They're projecting to be cash flow positive in their first 12 months. And reach over $100 million in revenue within 5 years.
Wow.
Which, to put that into perspective, reaching profitability that quickly is almost unheard of, especially for a SaaS company, a software as a service company, targeting such a massive market.
Yeah.
It's ambitious.
Those are some pretty aggressive targets. So it sounds like they're not just aiming to be another player in the market. They want to disrupt it.
They want to change the game.
Completely. But they're not just diving into the deep end right away. How are they planning to actually tackle this massive market?
This is another example of their strategic thinking. They're using what they call a Trojan horse market strategy.
Trojan horse market. Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
Okay, so think of it like this. They're starting with a smaller, more accessible market, to sort of prove that their technology works.
Okay.
In their case, that's the lead generation market.
Okay.
Which is still a $10 billion opportunity, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Not insignificant at all, but it's a way for them to get their foot in the door.
So they're sneaking into the market by offering a valuable service, proving their AI can actually deliver, and then bam.
And then use that success to go after the bigger markets.
Like digital marketing and eventually the entire customer acquisition landscape.
You got it. It's a classic strategy.
It is a classic strategy.
But if they can pull it off, look out.
This all sounds very impressive, but who are they going up against? Who are the big players that they need to watch out for?
Well, it depends on which market we're talking about.
Okay.
So initially, in the lead generation space, it's companies like LendingTree, EverQuote, QuinStreet. These are the established players.
So right out of the gate, they're taking on some heavy hitters.
Absolutely. Multi-billion-dollar market.
Talk about a David and Goliath situation. What happens when they move into those larger markets? Like, who are they up against then?
I think it's really interesting. Then you're talking about the Googles, the Microsofts, maybe even Amazon of the world.
Okay. Now, those are some seriously big shoes to fill. How can Symphony 42, relatively new company, hope to compete with companies that have basically unlimited resources?
That's where their defensible strategy comes into play. So it's not just about building a product. It's about building a moat around their business.
A moat, like a castle.
Like a castle, yeah. Creating barriers to entry that make it almost impossible for these other companies to catch up.
Okay.
Remember we were talking about their proprietary AI models?
Right.
The champion-challenger methodology.
Right.
That data they're collecting, that's their moat.
Okay.
The more data they gather, the more effective their AI becomes. The harder it is for anyone to replicate that. But it's not just the data, right? They're also applying for patents for their technology. They're building a really strong brand reputation. All of that contributes to defensibility.
So they're building a business that's not only innovative, but it's also incredibly difficult to copy. That's impressive.
That's the idea.
But let's bring it back to our listener for a second.
Sure.
Why should they care about any of this? What's the big takeaway here?
I think that's the most important question. If Symphony 42 can pull this off, it could fundamentally change how we interact with businesses as consumers.
Okay.
Imagine a world where instead of, dreading that call to your insurance company or spending hours online comparing prices, you can tell an AI what you need, and it just takes care of everything.
No more navigating those frustrating phone menus, getting stuck on hold, listening to that terrible elevator music.
Exactly. It could be a thing of the past. And it's not just about convenience either, right? Like, if Symphony 42 can actually make customer acquisition significantly cheaper and more efficient, it could have this ripple effect across entire industries.
That's right. Lower costs for businesses ideally means lower prices for us.
Exactly.
And if they're not spending as much time and money on just acquiring customers, they can focus on other things like
innovation.
Yeah, exactly. Developing innovative products and providing, hopefully better customer service.
Yep, precisely. Win-win for everyone involved.
Yeah.
But
it's not going to be easy, right?
It's not going to be easy. There are going to be challenges, as with any disruptive technology.
Absolutely. Speaking of challenges, one thing that stood out to me in their plan was their lineup of advisors and shareholders. We're talking about some heavy hitters here, like Carlos Cashman, the founder of Thrasio. I mean, this guy built an empire acquiring Amazon businesses.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two about scaling a business. And you also have Frank Sands Jr., the CEO of Sands Capital. His firm has an incredible track record of investing in disruptive companies. So having that level of experience and expertise in your corner, I mean, that says something about the potential that these industry leaders see in Symphony 42.
Yeah, it's like having a team of seasoned veterans guiding you through the battlefield of building a business. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about timing.
Yeah.
Why is now the perfect moment for Symphony 42 to launch?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it speaks to this perfect storm of factors that have all come together to make this vision possible.
Okay.
We've already touched upon the advancements in LLMs, large language models.
Right. These LLMs like ChatGPT that are able to, understand and respond to human language with this crazy level of sophistication.
Yeah.
That we've never seen before.
It was mind-blowing, but what else has changed?
Right. What else?
One thing is just the sheer amount of data available now to train these models.
Right.
We're talking about a wealth of information, text, code, images, videos, that allow these LLMs to learn and adapt at a scale we've never seen before.
It's like we've entered this new era of data abundance.
We have.
And Symphony 42 is perfectly positioned to capitalize on it.
100%. But it's not just about the data itself. Advancements in computing power have also made it possible to process and analyze this data in ways that were unimaginable just a few years ago.
It's like having a supercomputer in your pocket.
It really is. It really is.
So it's like all the pieces of the puzzle have finally fallen into place, making it the perfect time for Symphony 42 to disrupt the customer acquisition landscape.
It feels like that, doesn't it? And remember that champion-challenger methodology we talked about earlier?
Yes.
That innovative approach is another reason why they're so well suited to thrive in this rapidly evolving field.
Right, because they're constantly pitting these different AI models against each other.
Yes.
They're ensuring they're always using the most effective,
Always the best.
the most persuasive algorithms.
It's like having, a team of expert salespeople. But instead of humans, it's AI. And they're constantly learning and improving with every single interaction.
It sounds incredibly powerful, but I have to admit, all this talk about AI can feel a bit abstract at times.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around.
Can you give us a concrete example of how this might actually work in the real world?
Sure. Let's say you're a small business owner and you're just looking to expand your customer base.
Yeah.
Traditionally, you would have to spend a lot of time and money on things like advertising, networking, maybe even hiring a sales team.
Right, which a lot of small businesses don't have those resources.
Exactly. But with Symphony 42's platform,
Yeah.
you could potentially automate a huge chunk of that process.
Okay.
So their AI can analyze your target market, identify the best potential customers, even reach out to them with personalized messages,
Yeah.
Tailored to their needs, their interests.
So instead of me cold calling hundreds of people or spending thousands of dollars on ads that, may or may not work,
Exactly.
this AI is doing the heavy lifting, finding those customers who are most likely to be interested in what I have to offer.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And because the AI is constantly learning and adapting, it gets better over time. So your campaigns become more effective, you get more qualified leads, and ultimately, more customers.
It's like having a tireless, always learning sales team, just working for you 24/7.
Right.
But it begs the question, if AI is taking over these tasks, what happens to us humans?
$1 million question.
Sure.
Right. And it's one that Symphony 42 takes seriously. They acknowledge that this technology could disrupt a lot of those traditional sales and marketing roles.
Yeah.
But they also believe that it creates new opportunities.
So instead of seeing it as replacing jobs, they're kind of looking at it as evolving what those jobs look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For example, instead of managing all those cold calls, salespeople can focus on, building relationships
Yeah.
with high-value clients, something that AI is just not equipped to do yet.
Right.
So it frees up human talent to focus on things like strategy, creativity, those uniquely human elements of business that AI just can't replicate.
Right. It's leveraging AI to handle the tasks that it's good at so that we can focus on what we're good at.
Exactly.
But what about the potential downsides? Is there a risk of this AI becoming too persuasive, even manipulative?
Oh, 100%. And it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Symphony 42, to their credit, they really emphasize the need for transparency and thinking about the ethical considerations
Okay.
in their development.
Right.
They're not just trying to create something that's ruthlessly effective.
Yeah.
They believe that for this technology to be truly successful, it needs to be implemented responsibly.
So it's not just about building powerful AI, it's about making sure it's used ethically and transparently.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, and even with all the safeguards in place, this technology just feels like a game changer.
It really does.
What does it mean for the future of how we interact with businesses? I don't know, it's kind of scary and exciting at the same time.
It's like stepping into uncharted territory, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a world where businesses are competing not just on price or product, but the quality and persuasiveness of their AI.
So instead of flashy ads or celebrity endorsements, the battleground becomes how well does your AI understand and anticipate what I need as a customer?
Exactly. And it could lead to this whole new era of hyper-personalization.
Right.
Where, the products, services, even experiences are tailored to our individual, preferences and needs in ways that we haven't even imagined.
That could be incredibly powerful.
That could.
But again, it's are we going too far? Are we opening up this can of worms that we don't fully understand? It raises a lot of questions about data privacy
Sure.
or, that potential for manipulation that we talked about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But I think Symphony 42's journey here highlights something really important, which is that we're not just passive observers in this whole technological revolution,
Yeah.
right? We have a responsibility to shape how this technology is developed and used.
So it's a call to action for all of us.
So,
Consumers, businesses, policymakers, like we all need to be thinking critically about the role we want AI to play in our lives.
100% couldn't agree more.
And that kind of brings us back to Symphony 42.
It does.
They're not just building a company, they're navigating this really complex intersection of technology and ethics and the future of how we do business.
Exactly. And I think their success hinges not just on their technology, but on their ability to navigate those very issues and build that trust with consumers and businesses.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story and one we'll definitely be following closely.
Well-
And for our listeners who, want to maybe dive a little deeper into Symphony 42 and kind of learn more about their vision, we highly recommend checking out their website.
Yes, tons of great information on there.
Yeah, they've got some thought-provoking articles that explore these very topics.
Yeah, it's a great resource if you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Exactly. And with that, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into Symphony 42.
Sounds good.
As always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring.